Hey guys, and welcome to my channel. My name is Latina Marie. If you are new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on your notifications so you know when I am posting. Today I'm just going to be doing a get ready with me. I'm not really sure what kind of look I'm going for today, just kind of something simple maybe. But I wanted to chit chat about my move to Las Vegas. So I'm going to get started with my makeup and we're going to get right into this video. I'm from Grand Rapids, Michigan. I was born and raised, lived there all my life. I met my husband in Grand Rapids. We had all 4 of our kids in Grand Rapids. And when my oldest was 3 years old is when we made the decision that we wanted to move out of the state. Where we wanted to move, we really didn't know. We had traveled to Tennessee for a vacation, my husband and I, and we thought we wanted to move there. We thought it would be a good idea to move to Tennessee, but that didn't end up happening. And most of the reason why that didn't happen is because I wanted to move close to California. I did not want to move into California, but I wanted to be close because it would have been the same distance as like traveling from Grand Rapids to Chicago. So from Las Vegas to LA is like a 4-hour drive. So that was what I was going for, but I did not want to live in California. So the reason I wanted to move out here and be close to California is because of entertainment reasons. I wanted to get my kids into modeling. So before we decided to move to Las Vegas, I'll be completely honest, tax season came around and we were kind of depending on that money to get us out here and take care of us for a while, but that just didn't end up happening because we ended up making a plan to not leave until September. But you know, I kept praying to God and I'm just like, you know what, I know that we're supposed to be out of Michigan. Like I know it's supposed to happen. And I kept asking God to send me signs, like tell me why, you know, why is this feeling so strong? Why am I feeling like this is what I need to do? Why do I feel like I need to get out of Michigan so bad? Like I've always wanted to get out of Michigan. I seriously did not like it there. I didn't like anything about living in Michigan at any point in my life. So I kept asking God to please send me signs, show me, you know, if I'm not supposed to move out of the state, show me a sign. You know, there would be days where I felt like I was really getting signs. Like, I'd be on Facebook and I'd see a bunch of motivational quotes about like doing what makes you happy and stuff like that. Like, don't let fear and, you know, interrupt your life and things like that. And I'm just like, okay, these feel like signs to me. Like this feels like what I'm supposed to be doing. So I was really going off of that and I still hadn't really made a decision on whether I was going to go or not. And then one day I wake up and my kids had turned on The Pursuit of Happiness. Now remember, my oldest is 3. My twins who are after him, what time of the year was it? It was about March. So they also were 3. My 3 oldest were 3 years old and my youngest was 1. He hadn't turned 2 yet. And so I wake up and they're watching this movie and I'm like, this is it. This is it. I'm supposed to move. Like, I know I'm supposed to take this leap. I'm supposed to have this leap of faith and move my family across the country. Like, that was the end of it for me. Like, I knew like, really, my 3-year-old is turning on this movie. It didn't make any sense to me other than it had to be a sign. So after that happened, I started talking to my husband about it and I'm just like, you know what, we need to go. Like, I know we said that we were going to wait until September, but I just felt like it was the right time for us to be leaving now. It was March, almost. By this time it was like April when I really started thinking it was time for us to go. And so I told him, I was like, I think it's best that you put in your 2 weeks and we just get up and go. We had started saving a little bit with what we had left from our taxes because we did have to end up spending some of that money on like rent and stuff like that, you know, but basically we just kind of were about to get up and leave with nothing. So we ended up selling a few things, like electronic type stuff, trying to get a bunch of money. We were pawning things and just basically trying to get as much money as possible, you know, to be able to get up and go. At the time we had 2 cars. My husband had just bought another car and I had our van. So we, you know, were thinking that this was going to be a good idea. So by this time it's like May 1st. My husband put in his 2 weeks, and at the end of his 2 weeks, we were going to leave. And then he tells me that he doesn't have to work the 2 weeks because he can take his vacation time, and his job was pretty much okay with that, with him just kind of up and leaving. So I was like, cool, you know, that's good. Like, we can leave sooner if we want to. And he's like, no, let's just wait. So then we end up having like a little situation with our furniture because we were renting our furniture. I ended up telling them, you know, they can come get the furniture right away because I, you know, had it in my heart that we were leaving. And then my husband starts saying that he doesn't know if he wants to leave. And I think he just kind of like got himself to a point where it's like either we have to leave right now or it may not happen. I think he had convinced himself of that it needed to happen that way. Because he convinced himself that it needed to happen either now or never, he just was like, let's leave right now, like right this second. This was like maybe a day or two after he put in his 2 weeks. So I'm like, are you serious? And he starts packing the car. Starts packing the cars, and I'm like, well, I don't want to, you know, argue with him. I don't want to fight with him because, of course, I want to go. I'm ready to go. So he starts packing the car and I start packing the car, and I'm like, so this is what we're doing now, huh? And he's like, yeah, you said you want to go. And I'm like, all right. So we're packing the car. So we get the car packed. It's about 8-9 o'clock at night. It's May, so it's kind of dark. And my husband had had a few issues with his car, so he's like, well, let's go to my mom's first before we hit the road because I want to make sure that my brakes or whatever was wrong with his car was all right. His mom's neighbor was a mechanic or something like that. He looked at cars. He fixed cars. So we went over there, and at this time, I'm like, we're not going anywhere. Like, there's no way we're going anywhere. And he asked his mom to wash some clothes for us because we had like one tote of clothes that was not clean, that we hadn't done laundry with because we were in the spare of the moment getting up and leaving. So he asked his mom to wash these clothes, and I'm like, oh yeah, we're definitely not going anywhere. He's finding reasons for us to stick around. We're gonna have to sit here even longer. So, you know, we're all sitting in her house and watching TV and whatnot, and I'm just starting to think it's not gonna happen. And oh, I didn't mention, before we left our apartment complex, we dropped our key off. I wrote a little note and told them, you know, here's our key. We're not coming back. So yeah, it was like the weirdest situation ever. I couldn't even believe it was happening. Like, as I'm telling you, I still can't believe that happened, but this is all true story. So finally our clothes get washed, and my husband's like, okay, it's time for us to go. We don't mention to his mom. We don't tell my mom. We don't tell anybody. We don't tell anybody. We just get on the road and we leave. He's in his car. I'm in a van. I have my kids. He has a lot of our stuff. And basically we just took all of our clothes and like stuff that sat on the counter and things like that with us. We weren't really too worried about like furniture or anything, clearly, because we just got up and left. So we're driving all night. It's still snowing in Michigan around this time. Yes, it was May and it was snow on the ground. And so we get, I want to say, I don't know what state we were in. I'm not going to lie to you. But we were driving like for like 3-4 hours, maybe 5 hours. And we stop at a gas station and we kind of have like this little powwow. Like, are we sure this is what we want to do? We don't want to turn around. Or like, is this what we want to do? And we're like, yeah, let's go. So we take like I'd say half-hour nap just to kind of clear our heads and make sure that this is what we wanted to do and keep moving forward. So the next morning, we drove all night. The next morning, we stop at a gas station to get gas and snacks and stuff for the boys. And I send a text out to my mom and dad telling them that I left. And I don't know exactly what date it was, but I know that we got here on my son's birthday. It took us a day and a half-ish, something like that. And I want to say we left the day after Mother's Day. And the reason I know that because my mom was really hurt. Ooh, can we focus? My mom was really hurt by us leaving. And I just remember when I knew that she had received the message that I had left, she called me crying, and she was really hurt and disappointed that, you know, they weren't able to throw us a party or just a little get together or something to kind of say goodbye. And I just kind of like robbed her of that, and I understand why she felt so upset, and she had so many questions for me, and she's like, you know, things that we didn't even think about, things that we should have been thinking about but we didn't, like how much money do we have, where are we gonna stay, things like that. I did book us a hotel before we left, and we left with $950. So, you know, she was right to be asking those questions. I just didn't want to hear them at the time because we were halfway across the country and I couldn't turn around, and, you know, so much was going through my mind, and it just felt so, I felt disappointed in myself a little bit that I just kind of got up like that and left my mom, and it was a lot. It was a lot. So we're driving all night, and we get to a Subway. I'm trying to think of what state we were in. State were we in? It's on my Facebook, so I will post, I'll have it somewhere on the screen what state we were in. But we stopped at a Subway, we ate, and everything was fine the entire drive. But then when we get in the car to continue our drive from Subway, like my brakes just go out. Like I can't stop the car. And so I'm like, okay, we can't go on like this. We've got to find somewhere to get this car fixed. And whatever state, whatever city we were in was such a small city. Why can't I remember where we were? It's starting to irritate me that I can't remember where we were. But wherever we were was such a small city that, you know, we had to go to the first mechanic that we found. It was like no choice. We had no options with the location that we were in. So we finally find a mechanic, someone who's going to help us, and we got a good price on it. It just was not in our budget for that to happen. So that was like the craziest part of the trip. Like I couldn't believe that had happened. So we get the car fixed and we get back on the road to leave, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, honestly, we're blessed at the fact that, you know, we found someone and they were willing to kind of work with us, because it just was not in our budget to spend money that we really didn't have. So we get back on the road, and later that day, so that was early in the morning, so it was later that day that we ended up here in Las Vegas. And we get here, we go to our hotel, and they tell us they can't give us the room. And I'm like, what? Like, it was booked for that day. I believe it was booked for that day. Like, I knew maybe it was booked for that day or a few days later. But I basically was like asking them to kind of, you know, we'll pay the difference for a few extra days. And they tell us that they can't give us the room because they don't accept payments through a prepaid card. And I'm like, are you kidding me? You guys took my payment, my deposit on this card. And they're like, oh, you know, we can do that, but we can't accept you to pay the card on a prepaid card. Like, we can't put that on the account expecting you to pay for the room with that card. And I'm like, what? Like, this makes no sense. And she's like, but we can get your money back to you as soon as possible. Like, you'll probably get it tomorrow morning. And so I was like, well, I should. You know, you guys took that money. You have to give it back. She offered some rooms that we could go to that would accept our card that we had. And I'm just like, I don't know, you know, they sound like really expensive rooms. And so we had to basically start over and figure it out, like almost as if we were at home again. Like, we really had to figure this out. Like, what are we gonna do? So we go to another Subway, and we're sitting, and I'm calling places, you know, we're looking up places and calling places and figuring out like what we can do as far as like trying to get into a room like right now. And we go to this place. I don't even know what the place was. anymore. Like, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't even look it up or anything if I wanted to. But it was on Boulder Highway, and they tell us they can't accept us because we had too many kids. We had, you know, too many people with us. And I was like, well, that's understandable. You know, you can only have so many people in a room. And they're like, but you should try this place. This place will accept you guys. This place is very flexible. You can pay daily, you can pay weekly, you can pay monthly. It's basically like a flexible living. And so I'm like, oh yeah, sure, let's go check that place out. So we go to check it out, and by this time we ended up in Las Vegas with about $530. So we get to this place and they tell us it's $200 for a week. And we're like, well, that's not that bad, you know, because we were looking at about 300. Ooh, excuse me. We were looking at about 300 for 5 days at the place that I booked us for. So it was all a blessing that that didn't work out and that we had to leave, because had we stayed there, we kind of would have been in a bad place. So we're like, yeah, let's stay here. And that's what we did. So the next morning we go to breakfast, we go to dinner, or Denny's, not dinner. We go to Denny's and we're trying to figure stuff out, you know, we're talking and whatever, and we didn't really come up with anything while we were at breakfast, but we go back to the hotel and the unthinkable happens. So we get back to our room for the day, and I take the boys down to the pool, and I'm just like, you know what, I don't want to stress about anything, I don't want to talk about it. I just want to hope and pray for the best, that, you know, this was a good idea, that this was the best decision for us and my family, and that I didn't kind of just screw us over. So I go down to the pool and I am talking to this lady, and she's telling me that her and her family pretty much did the exact same thing. She had 2 kids, her and her husband, and they just kind of got up and left. And I was like, okay, well, at least I don't feel like a complete idiot. Like, I'm not the only person out here in the world doing stuff like this. And she's like, but my husband, you know, he posted on Craigslist that he does a certain type of work and that he was looking for a job, and anyone willing to help, you know, contact him. Gave his contact information and whatnot. And he got work the next day from a independent contractor. And so she was like, you know, if your dude is looking for work, just let me know. We can give you the contact information, and you guys can really start working like today if he needs anybody. And so I'm like, all right, well, thanks. Like, I'll let my husband know. And they just happened to be like right across the hall from us, like literally right outside our door. They were the room right outside our door. And I was like, this is all God. Like, this was definitely the move for us to make. And this was God. Like, he was definitely protecting us, and I could see it. I could feel it. And I was just like, this is amazing. Like, how many people have had that kind of experience, like just going out on a whim and it just working out like that. So my husband goes and talks to him and basically exchange information. The next morning, he has a job. So, I mean, it worked out for the best for my family. Am I encouraging anybody to just get up and leave everything they know and start a new life? Honestly, no, I'm not, because I don't know how it's gonna work for you. I know that it worked out for me and my family, and that was all on faith. You know, that was all on God, because I didn't come out here feeling like I could handle it. You know, I knew that God was gonna take care of us, and that God was gonna have our back and make sure that nothing happened to me or my kids. So, you know, if you're going to make a move like that, I definitely say pray about it, think about it, research, because I did a lot of research and I weighed my options with things of possibilities that could happen to us. And because I made sure to be cautious about everything, God could see that I wanted the best for my family, and that I wasn't going out maliciously trying to hurt anybody or my family or put us in a bad situation. And he was behind us the whole way. I just feel like you only have one life to live, and you should definitely live it to the fullest. You should never let anybody make you feel like you are bound to a certain type of life or a certain type of situation just because you have kids or whatever your situation is. I don't think that you should be told that you can't live the best life that you can. It just doesn't make any sense. I know that my family and I are capable of having the best life ever. And the way to do that is to go after your dreams and to get things that you want. And if you don't do that, nobody else is going to do it for you. So you just have to remember that if you want something, you kind of have to go and get it. And I wanted to leave Michigan, so I made it happen. You know, I made sure that with my faith and my belief and my strong love for kind of struggling, because, you know, growing up, my parents did have the best jobs. You know, they did what they could for us and they tried to give us everything that they could. But I knew that we were struggling, but I loved it. I loved the struggle. I loved knowing that when we got things, it was because my parents worked so hard for it. And I kind of wanted to experience that. I wanted to see what it was like to struggle so hard for my kids to even have a roof over their heads. And it drives me every day to do the best that I can to make sure that they have everything that they need. I know that I'm not Superwoman, and I know that I'm not, you know, the best person in the world or anything like that, but I know that I try. I know that I try to give my kids everything, and I try to be the best mom, and I try to be Superwoman, and that really is all that you can ask for. I mean, that's what anybody can ask for. Just try to be the best you that you can be, and see where that takes you. And I tried to be the best wife and the best mom, and it got me here for almost 3 years now. So I'm happy with the decision that I made to move out here. I moved out here with less than $1,000, and I've been here for 3 years. And of course I couldn't have done this by myself, because my husband is a huge part of why we're here. I worked 2 jobs since we've been out here, and he's been consistent. He's worked on his 2nd job right now. He's been consistent with this job for over a year now, and the reason that we're still here. So I thank him a ton for the reason that I'm still here, and the reason that I have a roof over my head every day, and the reason that I'm able to sit here and tell you guys that it's possible. Now, if I was out here by myself, of course I would have a job, and of course I would be taking care of myself. But because I'm married and because I have kids, I have someone that can do this with me and allows me to, you know, pursue my dreams and be able to make a different life for myself, you know, because that's what I'm doing with YouTube. I'm trying to build a better life for my kids. I'm trying to build a situation where my husband won't have to go to a job that demands him to be there when he doesn't want to be there. So I just thank God for everything that he's done for me and my family, and I thank my husband for being here and doing the things that he's done so that I can do these things and be able to sit here and talk to you guys about it. And again, I am not encouraging anybody to just get up one day and leave, even though that's what we did. We literally just made the decision to get up and leave, and we didn't look back. And honestly, I would say it is the best decision that we made, because we're doing okay. Yes, we've needed help from other people at times, but even if we were in Michigan, still we would need help at times, so that really doesn't change anything. But I think your heart has to be in it completely if you're feeling like that's something that you want to do. So yeah, I don't know what this makeup look was. I just put on some makeup and kind of got ready with you guys. But if you like this video, if you like these types of videos, because I like talking. I don't know why. I just like talking, and you guys are great listeners. You don't interrupt me. You just listen to me. I love it. But yeah, if you guys like these videos, let me know with a thumbs up. Let me know down in the comment section if you guys have any questions about anything that we went through. I am more than happy to answer them. I love you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.